Uh, watching back through last session was quite an experience. Listening back through last session, quite a turbulent and traumatic time. We began the session with Eleanor Grassfoot's awful dreams of people slain by her sword, some unseen figures. As we went through the session, we saw such other horrors as the great attack from a giant razorback. Did not take down the ship, but it got pretty dicey there for a while. People tossed about, very low on health, and the ship itself taking a severe beating. And some of the crew tumbling overboard, including young Pelcy Darnstrip, her father, going after her. People pulled together in some ways, but also some seem to really be feeling the strain of it all. The Lord Quivershank himself, very much out of sorts since Elsie's murder, and struggling with the power structure very much diminished and mostly shattered. People are starting to turn to the figures of leadership around the place, and Thalia in particular, Pushkin as well, gathering people about them. Salis doing largely the opposite. It's only a few people left loyal to him. And of course, Eleanor herself, thrown out of her hiding by the attack of the Razorback, freed the people in the brig, head upstairs, but very unfortunately, through the breaking of the ship, managed to get knocked out, and saw this as yet another failing in her recent days, and has took up refuge in a hammock, the hammock of Baylor Darnstrip that Eleanor was pretending to be, her mask of many faces. The session ended with many people raising a cautious cheer up on deck as you started to pull in towards land, towards your goal, the Serrated Isles. Never before settled successfully. Ships do not return from this place, and yet here you are with the sight of large, long, sandy beaches, some sand dunes, with thick jungle behind, a large mountain piercing the clouds in the middle. This place is an unknown to you. But it has been a while, so we'll all have to forgive each other, getting back into things and remembering what we can do and what's going on, and please do ask questions if you are unsure. But as the 5th day of travel pushes towards its end, you in fact come in towards the Serrated Isle. Where's my one gone? Let's make sure I send you to the right island, shall we? There she is. Yep. So, I'll move you over. Can you see in the top right the quiver sail?
Yeah.
Very good.
Yep.
Switch us over a bit. Well, actually, let's just... Oh. Okay. As the ship is pulling in towards... Yes, Anya? What pixels? The quiver sail moves along its last leg towards land. You can all see land now. In fact, let me open up this vision of it, because you definitely would be able to see further with the weather as it is. Let's do it like... So you see shoreline ahead of you. The sailors, you're pretty much still almost full on your complement of sailors, and so the ship is able to be guided, limping as it is. The carpenters working fervently down below to shore up some of the holes in the hull. But you are moving towards the shore. Is there anything anyone would do to try and correct the course or interact with people? A lot of people are talking, chatting excitedly on top of the deck. Lord Ernst has retreated with his retinue to his chambers. Is there anything anyone would be doing?
Probably just mingling with people. With like this is all us sort of achievement, that type thing.
Achievement of the people.
Exactly.
The Burgomaster would be doing something similar, attempting to win people back to his side. Being charming, promising them houses close to different amenities, etc., etc. Basically, being his idiotic fucking self.
That gives me the perfect opportunity to to introduce everyone to the current plans for New Quivershank. So I take you over.
Ooh, what the fuck?
So, representing the forested background is the grey background itself, but you can see it looks very strange when you first look at it. But done as a grid, you've got things representing the paths. Some things are labelled. The brothel with the Burgomaster's house directly next to it. The storage area behind. These little things are storage. You got the main storage area over here. The Lord and Pushkin across the way from each other. The Burgomaster hasn't seen fit to grace Salia or Eleanor with a house.
Thomas, don't act like I don't have entirely altruistic motives in being next to the brothel. It's purely for law keeping.
You got the temple with the poop ditch surrounding it, so people can go to the loo. And then, as the Burgomaster seemed keen on fortifications, the entire thing is, of course, surrounded with a palisade wall. Tents are represented. These little kind of orangey pieces down here. That's where people are going to be staying, and they're kind of tucked into the corners so that the main central area can be populated by the more important people. So that's the plan. All right, that's the current plan.
I was about to say. The plan.
The plan. Is there anything, Anya, now that you can see it, that you would like me to amend or do differently? I actually think you might be able to do it yourself. I think I put this together.
The trouble is, I have absolutely no experience in town planning, so I couldn't possibly tell you.
I kind of like to think that suits Salis pretty well. But yeah, if you did want to change anything, it's available to everyone. It's under the New Quivershank tab in your journal or sub folder in your journal, and there's all these things that you can pull out and place as you see fit.
Would Salia or anyone else have pointed out that they don't have any accommodation yet? Basically, there'd be loads of like random little dwellings around, just like for the sort of slightly more upmarket people.
Okay.
He hasn't just built these like massive fuck off like taverns and shit for them.
Would you like to give them a shack or a tent?
I'll give them a love shack.
A little shack? Okay. Well, if you can look in your journal, you can pull out, or I can pull some out for you.
Cool.
Little shacks.
Well, any of them can be in like just random little places like dotted around, but it's the poor people that have to live in the tent.
Okay. And do the shacks have paths going to them?
Sure, why not? Everything's interconnected in some way.
Okay.
You don't have to draw it out. It's fine.
Oh, okay. I'll leave you to do that then.
Okay.
But that's the plan. And no, Salia and other people wouldn't have seen it because literally only the Burgomaster and the Lord Quivershank and of course the late Elsie Winchurn have seen these plans. But just so everyone's aware, that's what the Burgomaster has in mind. But yeah, as if you want to do a charisma check for me, Burgomaster, to see how well you start trying to win people back to your cause.
If I disconnect, no.
No, you're good. Anya's beyond 20's been weird. You just roll on your character. You can just tell me.
It says 7 for me on the.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
7. Yeah, not great. There's a lot of high emotions at the moment, grief, but also excitement at seeing the island, and you're largely ignored, Burgomaster, as you kind of go around trying to mingle and rub elbows. But yeah, as you pull in closer, the sailors call out. Icky Telltone calls to properly trim the sails, start cutting them in to slow down on your approach. Start to see it a bit more. Behind the sandy dunes seems to be some harsh grasses. It is towards the end of the day as well, just to be clear. So the sun, high fire, is low in the sky. Oops, so just realised I haven't pulled you back. And with a creaking of wood and the flapping of sails, the ship is as close as it can get now, really, without beaching itself.
Cool.
Icky calls everything to a halt and awaits instruction. You're all standing on the deck, people are sort of looking around and chattering excitedly. The Lord is still nowhere to be seen.
Pushkin is gonna ask all the ticks
Mm-hmm.
and Maven Telson, the herbalist, to go out and try and find any source of food possible, because he knows they're running low on food.
Running very low on food. Does he want the ship to be beached then? Because at the moment you're still about a mile, or half a mile rather, off of the beach.
And only rowboats.
There is a singular rowboat on the ship.
How many people does it take?
It takes 4 people.
Right. He's going aboard with the ticks.
Okay. So you take charge. You get the rowboat swung out. Some nearby sailors are all too happy to oblige. They're excited. He gets lowered down, and a rope ladder is tossed over the side. And you're helped down towards it. You and the ticks. Is anybody stopping, pushing, or
No,
reacting?
I think
or-
Eleanor's distinctly, obviously, below deck. She's still in the hammock. She's recovering
And
slash
So-
hiding, I guess.
Yeah, the excitement of this event is what's keeping people up on main deck and stopping more people seeing you there, Eleanor. Dahlia?
Salia just lets Pushkin go and just sort of rolls her eyes. She just goes to Icky, and this boat needs to make up most of the buildings, right? Might as well beach it.
All right. He sees you. He knows your Sari heritage, and the sails are pulled out a little bit more, and you find the rowboat is shortly overtaken, Pushkin, by the ship itself, moving past you and beaching upon the shore. But you'd be landing at largely the same time, and everyone on deck braces. Eleanor, you'd feel this unmistakable sensation as the ship itself drives a deep furrow into the beach, into the sand, as you make landfall. on these shores. Okay.
Of potential.
Of potential. He said it. Right, let's get this going. So you are in space. So, God, I've written so fucking much stuff. It's all just here. As the ship beaches and more rope ladders are tossed over the side, you see very little around you in your immediate vicinity. Pristine, beautiful, golden white sand just stretches out to either side. And miles ahead of you over the dunes, those of you who take a look peering from on deck, you see these dunes give way to harsh grasses further inland, but that is a fair walk away right now. There are some, and you can see them spotted around on the beach around you, some signs of old sun-bleached bits of driftwood, evidence of other ships that perhaps didn't do quite so well as you, and pieces of them have ended up stuck here, bleaching in the sunshine. But just get my... yeah. Now that we've landed, this is going to be an interesting next kind of bit, because it's very free-form, and you guys haven't really been a cohesive unit as a squad. So I'm very much expecting and happy to oblige people moving off in different directions with their cohorts. But it's kind of we might have to do one at a time. We might have to see what happens. The Lord, even beached, the Lord does not make an appearance from inside, and his retinue, or what's left of it, is still kind of there, in the Lord's quarters as well. So it's very much down to what your characters would want to do. To explain the map, these are I'm using the Hexcrawl rules that Kieran very kindly sent me. They're kind of modified and kind of improvised. It's going to be a bit more casual than the proper stuff. But each hex represents a distance from side to side of 6 miles. So it's quite a long distance. Takes time to travel along. Normal travel, you're essentially going to be going 3 hexes in a day. But as you go to each hex, I can describe what the area you find, and if you want to kind of have a look around you, I can tell you if you see anything standing out in the surroundings. But obviously that's also going to depend on if you've got some elevation. So yeah, it's decent weather, so actually I can give you a bit more visibility than this, right?
I know what Pishkin wants to do.
But I'd previously thought I'd make a little group token, as we've had in so many other campaigns, but you're really not a cohesive group, so everyone can feel free to pull out their own tokens and start yourselves on the Quiver Sails space as it is right now.
As they're on the way to beach, the boat on the shore as well.
Yeah.
Salia would be chattering to people like, as soon as we get on the shore, you guys need to do just what you do best. Start the building of things that are obvious that we need. So like an area for cooking. So she hasn't seen the Burgomaster's map that he wanted, right? So she's just gonna start saying like things that is needed first, and that everyone should just do what they do best, essentially.
Okay, and you're kind of directing people to just do this around on the beach where the Quiver Sail has beached?
Yeah, just kind of go inland like a little bit, but not very much really.
Okay.
Between is the safest. Yeah.
So people should be grabbing stuff and walking inland together, kind of thing?
In a big group until we get to like a bit of flat land where you can build stuff on, essentially.
Okay.
Take some of the wreckage as well, maybe.
Okay. Anything from anybody else?
I think Eleanor is at some point once she sort of realised that we've landed is going to... I think she's had some time to think, and I think she knows that Tevrate awaits Elena somewhere on the Isle. And she is very much in a sense of mindset of trying to bargain and undo some of her grief, also mixed with depression, but it's very much comes in waves, and I think she finds this sort of moment of kind of energy, and I think she would try and disguise herself and get off the ship and just start making her way into the Isle on her own.
You actually find it very easy to disguise yourself. The last dregs of people that might have been around you on the first deck down for the civilians have all been up on the top deck, excited and looking out. So you do that without problem. What do you disguise yourself as?
Another member of the crew, probably, but someone who's quite unassuming. Maybe a halfling. I'm trying to think from my... I'm just looking at my crew. If any of them are still fucking alive. Palsy's dead, so that's not really an option.
Yeah, Baylor and Tarry are alive.
Probably one of them, maybe. Yeah.
That's fine. Which one? Just so I know how to... if other people are going to react.
Baylor, I guess.
The mother or the daughter?
The mother. The daughter. The mother. No,
okay.
No, yeah, the mother.
Okay.
Oh no, the daughter.
There are two more halflings on the ship, a couple. They're gunners. You would have noticed them during drinking and revelry and such, so you could choose them if you wanted to, but it's entirely up to you.
Dunno. Could I gain some kind of insight into who would be the most unassuming? Like, who has the least responsibility, or a very specific responsibility that sort of wouldn't see them go off being...
Yeah, I think without needing to roll anything, you'd think that there's pros and cons to each one. The daughter might come over to you, or other people might come and ask you about how you're doing. If you seem too brave as the mother, people might be a bit suspicious because you've just lost your husband and daughter. Younger daughter. Equally, if you're the daughter, there's a lot of attention on the dance strips at the moment, so it might be better to be the gunners.
Maybe one of the gunners then.
Yeah. So there's Darwin Dareblessed and Hettin Dareblessed. There are a couple. The woman is quite significantly younger than the man.
Let's do her then, I guess.
Okay. So you take on the guise of this rugged gunner, sleeves rolled up, of this very old, worn-out, much-used sailor's shirt, lots of tattoos, thick forearms of muscle, kind of a crooked smile, and a half-shaved hairdo. But yeah, you take on that guise, and what is Eleanor doing?
She's just gonna march straight into the Isle on alone. She's not really thinking about it.
Take off? Do you try and disguise your taking off, or do you break into a run, or are you just walking?
She probably just tries to disguise it as best she can.
Yeah,
just
so
waits.
You make it look like...
Yeah, just waits for a moment where it's sort of quieter or whatever.
Roll a stealth check for me, please.
$22.
Be gone.
Very nice. Yeah. You find an opportune moment when you see people shifting things around, and actually someone props up half a tent, and you realise with the height of it that you can just use this as a way to start moving off between the dunes without being seen at all, and you disappear from the crowd's sight and move off. I assume just heading straight towards the jungle, heading inland,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
straight away from the coast. All right. For the sake of that, then, I will view GM Slayer. Very nice. Okay, I know what Salia's doing. What are Pushkin and the Burgomaster doing?
Pushkin is going to take the ticks. He's going to take Deeren, the zoologist.
Yep. Enthusiastic, very
and-
enthusiastic.
Maven Telson
Mm-hmm.
over to the sort of more scrubby grassland. See if they can find anything.
So you'll be heading. There's my Pushkin. There he is. So heading like here-ish?
What do those hexes look like that he's adjacent to?
Yeah, so now that you guys have started moving inland a bit, I can reveal some more. Obviously things are represented by symbols, but you are traveling quite a distance. So around you, let's see, you're in. As you move, and this goes for Salia and Pushkin, and we'll come to the Burgomaster as well soon, but I imagine he might be doing the same. As you move into this grassy area, you notice, kind of as you first get into this harsh grass on top of the dunes, and it eventually goes to grass on soil. Some of you spot, others end up stepping on bits of old bone, and you notice that these are humanoid bones. Some like an old jawbone, a femur. Some of them look very old and sun bleached. Others look a bit more recent, but there's no flesh on any of them. No stench of decay. These are old bones.
Tom,
Yes.
can I do some kind of perception or insight check or something? Because I think the Burgomaster would be busy like looking at his plan and trying to think where the best place would be away from the water, etc. I don't know if he would actually notice that.
100% survival check.
Survival check.
Survival check.
11.
Okay. 11's not too terrible. One of the main things you'd realize, Burgomaster, with your 11 roll, is that for your plans to come to any kind of fruition with the palisade wall and the number of buildings that you're planning, you're going to need a supply of wood, more so than just from the quiver sail itself. So, you know you're probably going to need to head to the tree line at the very least, which is another 6 or so miles away from you. Equally for you, Pushkin, the ticks are looking very much beginning to be in their element and spreading out amongst the grass. They start kind of calling to each other in Goblin, but report back to you regularly and tell you that there is some kind of trapping and small food stuff, small creatures moving around in the grasses, but not enough. Certainly not enough to make a dent in the appetite for all the passengers.
Have they captured any of them?
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the goblins, one of the younger ones, would come back with a small green lizard trapped between her fingers, and the zoologist would be leaning over her shoulder the whole time, just proclaiming excitedly. And she brings it back to you as proof that there are small creatures nearby.
Be like, excellent, excellent. How long would it take to get to the tree line?
So, things were coming towards the end of the day. People have kind of moved up. I would say probably the sun has gone down now. You could keep moving into the night if you wanted to. If you wanted to push for the tree line, but it's going to get dark.
He would just tell everyone in this group to try and scavenge as much of many of these animals and flowers and whatever as possible.
Very good. Salia, Burgomaster.
Mostly just telling people to set up. Whoever doesn't have really skills in hunting and stuff, just start setting up all the tents and whatnot for the night, and then we can do some scouting in the morning where the best area might be to set up properly.
Okay, cool. So the area where you are, we'll do for now, for the night. Good. Burgomaster?
The Burgermeister is literally just like, la la la, and over here will be the tavern.
Just walking around with his big map out, looking around, just like,
And just being like, oh, yes, well, get into my good books, I'll get you an excellent tent, etc.
Oh,
Okay.
Pushkin would also talk to the farmers when he's back. Be like, where's good for fields?
Okay. Yeah. They would be like, and start like digging down and having a look at the soil and basically say like, the further inland we can go away from the sandiness of the soil, the better things are going to be. That is fine. Is anyone paying any attention to the Burgomaster at all with his map?
Literally none.
And as the Burgomaster sort of strides around pompously with his map, proclaiming to people that are barely listening that he'll get them a bigger tent or a better tent, you just hear this incessant yapping from a patch of grass near the Burgomaster's feet that rustles as he walks along. Cool. So people aren't going too far. They're setting up together. You've still got a pretty good complement of Marines who have recovered from their own illnesses and gunners as well. So people. The Marines have recovered now. Yeah, they've recovered enough, and Horia Mooncloud is looking pretty. Well, I guess there's no other word for it. Pretty powerful as an ally right now, with her full complement of Marines behind her, armed, and ready to go.
I guess Salia would. The only thing she'd really say to her would be, I guess you got the defense.
Yeah, she would give you a nod and just say, I think it's wise that we stop for the night. We're already in unknown lands. Unknown lands without vision would be dangerous.
Yeah, do you want me to get them to set up the tents for you? You can set up watches and whatever you do.
Sure. Yes, that'll be fine. I'll organize a rotating staff to have on watch. And you can see she's sort of gazing out around. The areas around you, because you'll have enough time to sort of look out. You can see this jungle tree line in the distance, closely knit trees, vines and such, providing quite an opaque, distant, fuzzy bit of vision to you. To your immediate north, you've got more of the coastline, more sand stretching out. To your south, there'd be anything to straight away. No, you just see further grassland, lots of grassland, and then to your west. God, I wrote so much. Nope, just more grassland. Quite empty, weirdly empty after all the tales and the trepidation around this. You've landed and it just feels like almost an untouched, completely untouched island.
Can Salia have a look at the bones?
Yeah,
See if there's
absolutely.
any, like, marks on the bones, how they died.
As you sort of sift through the grass, you notice there's actually a lot of these bones around. You pick them up, you notice some of them, there aren't any clear markings as to cause of death, but others, without even rolling, you can see some with the backs of their skulls crushed in, others with jagged cuts going deep into the bones themselves. With all the bones around you and people kind of curiously gathering things and looking at them themselves, you quickly ascertain that there's pretty strong evidence here of people being killed. By, you're not exactly sure, but there's a wide variety of things, so it certainly doesn't look like one type of predator.
Should definitely be going around sort of saying keep an eye out for people, anything on the island, and Yeah, maybe take watches themselves as well.
Mm. Yeah, people are wary but excited. You see some of the children like next to the quiver sail as people have kind of formed this long stretching caravan, passing things back and forth and disassembling some of the quiver sail and bringing goods further onto the land. There are children playing in the breaking waves on the shore. It's quite a relief after the troubles and travails you've had on your way here. But night closes in. The Marines set up a watch. How are people being with the others around them? It sounds like Sali is being really communal and like walking amongst lots of people, whereas the Burgomaster is largely muttering to himself. Oh, I would say that some of the last to leave the quiver sail is Lord Ernst and his retinue.
He's not talking to himself. He's being like, "Oh, you boy, do this. Oh, this will make a fabulous place for the brothel to like a 10-year-old and all sorts."
And then parents are like ushering their children away from the Burgomaster.
I fully imagine that he's just like talking to people and they're completely ignoring him, but he's just he's basically like an old lady on a bus and he's just like talking at them without actually getting any reply. He just doesn't give a shit.
That makes sense. Okay. But yes, without much fanfare at all, Lord Ernst and his closest retinue, which is now comprised of Hermione, Balalor, Zython of the Deep, the Triton that is still with him, Speculus Office Mills. I think that's it.
Have we had a long rest, by the way, before?
Yes, this was... You had a rest. Yeah, you can take a long rest.
Okay.
That is fine.
Cool. Talia will try and sit down with a few people before, like at a fire or something, and sit down with some people.
It's fine.
Yeah, and just suggest, especially with Krez, the ex-Sari, what they should potentially do in the morning, like, because obviously there's something on the island, or was at least at one point. We should probably try and figure that out before we move a whole entire group into a forest.
Very cool.
Maybe take the scouts. There's
Yeah.
one scout, Aryan.
Yeah.
She would also suggest bring along the Burgomaster. He may be a buffoon, but he does have some magic that might be useful.
Oh, his
Doesn't matter if
facial
he does,
expression
I
is so
suppose.
great. Okay. Cool. So yeah, you discuss your plans for the next day. Krez becomes almost like a lieutenant figure for you, and just only interjects with like ideas of her own and ways to supplement your own knowledge, and starts talking about giving advice to some of your scouts about like what plants to look out for, what things we might expect here, how to watch out for certain dangers, hazards, and so on. Very good. My last question before the sun sets is, Pushkin, you become immediately aware with the stores left on the ship as they were so badly devastated by the rat infestation. Your foragers have done quite a good job, and you'll be able to stretch the ship stores with the foraged goods to last tomorrow. After that, you don't have any reserves of food left. Is there anything Pushkin would do?
Yeah, he'd go to the what's the name? The Marine captain. He'd be like, "Yes, we're completely running out of food." And just see her reaction.
Yeah, her eyes would widen. Hasn't really kept herself close to this thread of the journey. It's just like, what?
Yes, we're damage to the ship, really. You know, damaged our supplies.
She like steps a little bit closer to you, not in a threatening way, in the conspiratorial way, and like lowers her voice, and she's like, "We shouldn't put that around. We'll have
No.
people panicking." Ooh,
I'm putting together a crew to go into the jungle tomorrow, and I was here to ask if you could send some of your marines with us.
of course, whatever you need. Food must be secured, and water. Otherwise, we're going to have a very different experience.
I don't know if it's up to you or me, but is there any priority food on this trip? We should save the most useful people, of course.
She cocks an eyebrow, but she doesn't object immediately. She kind of sighs heavily. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it, but perhaps it's not too far away. I've been keeping an eye on things. And her eyes kind of wander over to where the Lord's tent has been set up, and his whole little retinue have kind of sloped inside. She's like, "There's certainly a difference between usefulness and apparent importance on this expedition."
But we know what the most important things are: shelter, food.
Yes, absolutely. We need to keep people fed and watered, and hopefully the rest should work itself out. We have a lot of people power here. Perhaps we can teach some of them the basics and get enough to survive these first trying days.
Yes, if there's anyone who is useless at the moment, maybe they should be sent with my crew so they can learn how to forage.
Good idea. Would you be willing to speak to the masses in the morning? Perhaps
And
drum up a bit of support without feeling like we should be forcing people. I'd rather not generate ill will.
But I shouldn't mention the dwindling stocks of food, should I? No. Just make it sound, I don't know, like a way to an exciting adventure, or a way to learn some new skills. Indeed. How many of your Marines will you send with us?
My initial thought is half of my Marine complement. I definitely don't want to abandon the protection of the people altogether. So that will mean, seeing as we're down a Marine, I'll give you my brother, the Hobgoblins, they're our best fighters, and the Dwarf. She'll get you through whatever you need to get through.
Sounds good to me.
And she goes back to setting the camp up, and the camp is a mishmash. People have got various tents. If you remember when you first went to meet Lord Quivershank, or rather gather with Lord Quivershank at the manor, there was those racked up rucksacks, survival packs. A lot of money has been poured into this, and so people do have a lot of tents to be pitched, and with still close to 100 people in your full complement, quite a large gathering around different fires. People naturally draw in as little groups, and the more ornate tent of Lord Ernst Quivershank is notable amongst the rest. But the night draws in. The beautiful sign of Cena in the sky above you with her two sons, in various stages of waxing and waning. The watch is handled by the Marines. Is there anything anyone want to do during the night? And I also need to ask Eleanor what your plans are for the night.
I think she's just gonna keep pushing through and searching through the night for whatever she's looking for. She's not even really sure what she's looking for, but
pushing against exhaustion.
Yeah.
from where you are, Eleanor, as you've moved away from the camp and everything and made your way towards the tree line, you notice amongst the grass you find maybe within kind of a mile stretch, maybe 2 or 3, and this seems to go on as you cover the miles and these rolling grassy hills. You find these strange little gatherings of objects. They seem to be a number of different things. Some little bits of food, clearly prepared in worked bowls. You see some animal bodies, some carved little totemic style, like little dolls and figures. Many with kind of a curving wave-like pattern to them. But clearly made by people, just left in a little area of grass that has been flattened down around it to kind of leave the little bundle of things open. Does Eleanor interact with them at all?
Do they look like kind of offerings?
That would certainly come to mind as a comparison, yeah.
Can I cast Divine Sense on them?
Yeah, absolutely. What does Divine Sense do?
As an action, you can detect good and evil. Until the end of your next turn, you can sense anything affected by the Hallow spell, or know the location of any celestial fiend or undead within 60 feet that is not behind total cover.
Okay. Yeah, I'll say nothing directly within the bounds of the spell itself, but you do, with this kind of pulse of searching for elements of divinity, you definitely do get a sense that these are offerings left in reverence. And you think, rather than pointing towards a divine singular being, it's very much towards the powerful nature spirits, the Kiad Shur, that these offerings have been left.
She might... I don't know. Gives the impression someone's here, obviously.
Yeah, very much so.
Don't really know what to do with that information. Maybe, is there any, like, tracks nearby that are, like, near this offering that might...
You can do a perception or an investigation check.
I'll do perception. 15.
Seems pretty good. You notice that whilst there aren't any immediate tracks, the grass is pretty thick here. As you sort of get your view down lower and helped by your halfling frame, you do notice that there's kind of a faint parting in the grass, kind of like a desire trail. Something like the plants have been slowly shifted over time. And you notice they are heading off to the west, back towards the jungle itself.
I think she'd follow them.
Okay.
This is something. Which isn't perhaps not exactly what she's looking for, but it might... I don't know, she'd think where there's... She must know something about hags, so where there's people, then maybe the sign of a hag nearby, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you push on into the night, your stomach is rumbling heavily. You haven't eaten properly in a while now. You will gain a point of exhaustion as you're pushing on. And could you do, now with exhaustion it will be at disadvantage, could you do a perception check? Yes. Notice something.
9.
Okay, yeah. You just push on through the grass, the trees are getting closer now, they're starting to loom up ahead of you, and in the dark, thankfully, seen high in the sky and clear skies, moonlight is able to give you a difference, at least between the grass beneath your feet and the trees up ahead. Does Eleanor want to head into the jungle?
Think so.
Okay. Roll a Constitution saving throw. Yes.
3.
3. You're really starting to feel the growling hunger in your stomach. It's becoming this craving, this need, rather than an idle thing in the back of your mind. As you reach, interesting. As you reach the tree line, you've just been pushing on and on. You actually see, even in the faint moonlight, as you start breaking through the shrubs and the thick jungle around you. In fact, seeing as you are where you are now, switch the music up. You hear the sound of jungle life around you, and as you break into the tree line, you are met immediately by the sight of these plump red fruits hanging near your head height, and an area of trees only a few minutes into the tree line itself. Your stomach's rumbling heavily.
Yeah, she'll take them and eat them.
Okay. You pull down some of these fruits. They are slightly soft the first touch, but plump and ripe beneath that, and you bite in. This red juice spills down your chin. It's delicious. This like beautiful, sweet taste, and you just feel your mouth singing with this sensation of flavor and of nutrients as you eat away at these red fruits. They're fruit. You eat them. Tastes good. Does Eleanor wish to keep pushing on through the night, pushing against her exhaustion?
Yeah.
Okay.
Her intent is to just focus. She's more just... She doesn't, like she said, she knows that Tevrite is somewhere on this isle. Or at least she believes that, based on the dream she had, or the vision she had.
Yeah,
And she's
absolutely.
just almost going purely off instinct.
Okay. Could you do another perception check with disadvantage? Yes. How do we do? Okay. As you're moving through, pushing things aside, the jungle is thick here and you're having to push against vines. You hear the sounds of very large insects and other small creatures scuttling and scurrying away from you as you disturb the tree line. Unbeknownst to Eleanor, as she moves along, she is being tracked.
Mm.
And as you push towards a particular clearing and the moonlight comes onto your face as you try and get your bearings again, make a dexterity saving throw for me, please.
Nine.
A thick, corded net drops down on you from above, and alongside it, one on either side, is a heavy humanoid shape. Barely able to see the details in this darkness, but they land either side of you, both holding down this net around you. How does Eleanor react?
She's gonna, that's a good question. How many of them are there?
At the moment, there seems to be 2.
She is going to cast Command at 2nd level.
Okay.
And just say flee.
I will roll 2 saves for them. Got their modifiers in mind. Okay. A 10 and a 14.
The DC is 14, so...
Ooh. One of them immediately lets go of the side of the net and just goes pelting off into the underbrush. The other one growls, and you hear these deep words being muttered as a blade is drawn from their side. You see the flash of moonlight on metal as this figure stalks towards you and is clearly ready to attack. They will make attack against you. That's gonna hit.
Yeah.
For 5 slashing damage.
Reaction Hellish Rebuke,
I thought so.
which is a first level spell.
They fail their dexterity save.
13 points of fire damage.
Oh my god. The fire, the black flames erupt from the blade, and you just hear from a low growl to just a high shriek as this figure is engulfed in flame and is left nothing but a charred corpse as they strike the ground. The net, most of it is incinerated too, I'll say, by this attack, and you just hear the sound of the other figure crying and in a language you don't understand, fleeing off into the distance. Very good. Eleanor, do you push on?
She does, yeah.
Okay. Take another point of exhaustion at this point.
Level 2.
And I'll move you 1.
I can't see myself, by the way, if I'm meant to.
No, I know. I don't want
No, it's fine. I just
others to see.
wasn't sure.
Well, actually, only you should be able to see your token. So let's reveal a little bit. You see yourself now?
Yeah.
There you go. So you are. So. Oh my god. As the exhaustion is setting in and your eyes are beginning to droop and your sort of forceful stride has now become your feet dragging along as your body is exhausted from your exertions. Oh god, do a perception check for me, disadvantage.
10.
Oh god. You're walking, and then there's a moment where, in your sort of half dozing, half dreaming state, it feels like you've gone into a dreamscape. You're flying, your feet have left the ground. But as your eyes kind of flicker open and your vision clears, you realize you're not flying. You are stuck in a huge web. A web of thick strands that feel like metal lines just boring into your skin where you are stranded. And you can see from above you the shape of a large, dark, arachnid creature crawling down towards you. How do you react?
She's gonna cast Fear.
Okay.
Why isn't that taking away the charge?
I think it passes. Is it a wisdom save?
It's verbal, somatic, and M. If she's stuck in the web, can she do M?
It's coming from the sword, though.
Yeah, the sword is
right.
the reason she's able to.
Right.
Is it a wisdom save?
It is a wisdom save.
Okay, so it does pass as it pushes in towards you, and it's going to try and bite you. Well, sting you, rather. Oh. Well, I would say you are restrained. What's your AC?
18.
Oh my god. It's a 17 to hit. The stinger comes plunging in towards you, but you manage to glint the the barb off of the scabbard of your sword down by your side. You think you've got another turn, to another moment to act, but you can see more of these creatures being pulled in by the riding around on this web.
Seeing what options I've got.
Yep, think carefully.
Think she's gonna cast invisibility on herself?
Interesting. Okay.
How many of these spiders are there first?
I will say it's dark, but you can already make out the one that attacked you looks to be the largest, but there are two smaller ones that are coming at you from different angles as well. Yeah, it's
invisibility seems like a bit of a... I don't know. That seems like it probably is not going to work with like some kind of web sense.
You're already in the web.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to cast Bane on all three of them.
Okay. The Bane goes out. I'll make some quick saves.
It's charisma saves. DC
Fail.
14.
Fail. Fail.
Good.
So all three of them fail. But they are closing in on you now, and they're all trying to sting you. Put that back on for a second. Quite the eventful night for Eleanor Grassfoot.
Definitely.
First attack.
What does exhaustion level
Okay.
2 do?
Move speed half.
Oh yeah.
That's 23. So that will hit you even with Bane.
Yeah.
Could you do so that the damage is not very much? 5 damage. But the important part is, could you do a Constitution saving throw for me, please?
13.
Great 13.
Mhm.
Oh god. Okay. As the stinger plunges into you, you note immediately that the pain is not that much. Certainly nothing compared to the fights you've had before. But as the stinger lingers in your body, there is a sensation of a spreading numbness coming out from where you have been stung. And as this poison works its way through your body, you find yourself unable to move or speak. Your whole body is paralyzed, and you find your consciousness slipping away.
I do maintain concentration though.
Okay.
Unless I'm unconscious already.
You do find yourself falling into unconsciousness.
Well, I'm fucking dead.
However, I will say that is not the end of Eleanor's story, but certainly the end of her consciousness this night. I'm gonna put.
Gotta wait for Sam to save you.
Yeah, there's a definite comparison. For the rest of you, the night passes without incident. The sentries almost seem a bit twitchy with how little seems to be going on around them. Sounds of distant animals baying at the moon and the flutter of wings as some creature is disturbed and takes off from the tree line is distant to you, and many of you find yourselves inside warm tents. The climate here is quite comfortable and hospitable, and the night passes without issue. You want to take another long rest, Salis, Pushkin, and Salia? You can if that does anything for you, but otherwise, the day begins anew. Pushkin, you know this. You should be level 4.
Okay, yeah, good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pushkin, you know this day is the last of your rations. The early in the morning, Toria comes to you with her complement of Marines and tells them that they are to follow your orders and to focus on keeping people safe. foremost, but when they're not needed to do that, they need to focus on gathering what Pushkin tells you to gather. So, what is anybody doing as the sounds of commotion and people waking up? Pushkin, I assume you do your best to make breakfast with what's there?
I don't know. Yeah. But he'd want to leave really early.
So he's not cooking, he's just leaving the supplies to be dealt with as they are.
Better to go on this mission like earlier in the day.
Yeah.
He'd make a meager breakfast for everyone.
Okay.
And sort of leave it out.
Yep. Very good. Makeshift tables and trays are left out for people to take as they will. And you head off. Which direction are you heading in?
Yeah, so he's taking Maven, all the ticks.
Yep.
Deeren.
Mm-hmm.
And Dredge.
Yeah.
Oh, and Chuck as well.
Oh, I forgot to say about Chuck. As the ship was dismantled, the actual last person to come from the ship was Chuck, who was cradling gently in his pseudopod arms the last little bit of wood at the base of the quiver sail, which has the mushrooms growing still upon it, as he gently takes his little mushroom nursery further inland. And yeah, he would happily come with you. He's made a little tent space for his mushrooms. He's happy.
I just can't believe how wholesome Chuck the Gunker is, to be honest with you.
He's a good boy.
At breakfast, is it like a buffet, by the way?
No, he would have made most of it out of the stuff that they got on the island, so it's like a welcome to New Quiver.
I've lagged out.
Oh, who's just cutting out?
Poor Natalie. Internet stuff, I'm guessing, cutting out.
Yeah, sorry.
It's all good.
Yeah, and so I think she would have been talking about maybe taking some of the higher ups and risking their lives to go and do it instead of the
Interesting.
normal people. Of course, she'll go with them as well.
Mm-hmm.
So she would have been going around asking Icky what his skills are and if he would come and do scouting.
Mm-hmm.
Who are the other ones?
Amongst the retinue,
Yeah, Perth
You
is
got-
a bit useless.
yep. Then you got the Specular Sophist. Obviously Elsie is deceased. Zython, Triton. I mean, he looks
Yeah,
quite athletic. But yeah.
yeah, athletic. Basically just asking them who would be willing to come,
Mm-hmm.
and also probably go and ask the military lady if she's got any spare like weapons that anyone, if anyone needs any. She doesn't need any herself.
Okay. Yeah, she'd be like, spare isn't the word I'd use, but yes, they have backups that they'd be willing to let you use
Yeah.
as needed.
And she would go and ask the Burgomaster as well.
Oi! What do you say to the Burgomaster?
Burgomaster, I've seen you use magic before. Do you want to make yourself useful?
I mean, of course.
Well, I've been thinking we need to scout the island to find somewhere useful and suitable to set up. You know, it's a bit difficult trudging a whole group through a thick forest, so maybe me, you, and a few others.
Oh, well, of course, just lead the way.
Good to know. We'll be going in a minute. I just need to gather up some more people.
Depending on what role Tom makes me do, he may surprise you and be very, very useful, or he may be about as much use as a chocolate frying pan.
Oh yeah. I mean, she doesn't think he's going to be super useful.
Yeah.
Just he's got their magic, That'll be somewhat
Let's
useful.
keep our expectations low. I think that's the best thing to do with any of my characters.
Oh, yeah.
Just don't expect anything from me.
What does Salia say to Icky?
She was just asking what his plans were for the day, and if he wanted to help out, go and scout the island. I guess it's quite simple, really.
Yeah, no. If she mentioned scouting, he would be like, he'd give you like there'd be quite a long silence, and he'd be like reading your face. And then he'd just say, "Well, finally, someone with a bit of nerve to go and do something," and would happily join you. And you'd notice a few people would sort of perk up at seeing him do that. Some of the sailors, and they'd probably want to come join as well.
Yeah, basically anyone that wants to come join. She's not stopping anyone, so she would ask the scout as well in her group, and even in any of the other groups. To be honest, she's not picking and choosing from groups anymore. She's just anyone that wants to come, anyone that thinks that they want to contribute to scouting the island. And she will say that it was probably dangerous because they found bones and stuff.
Okay, I was about to say you're going to end up with like a massive crowd then, but with danger, some of them shy away, kids are dragged back. But yeah, you get quite a complement of people, probably like 20 people altogether.
Nice.
Yeah, who are excited and want to help out and do something. Okay, Pushkin, you headed out super early. Which direction would Pushkin
one
have...
thing he would have done before he went out.
Yep.
He would have gone to find the Lord.
Oh, yep.
And he'd be like, knock, 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 or wherever he is.
Clap, clap, clap on the side of the tent.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd hear a voice from inside. Not the Lord's immediately, you'd hear Permian's voice just saying, "Who is it?"
There's Pushkin, Permian.
Oh. You hear the sound of him standing up. And then eventually the flap of the tent is pulled aside. It's like, "Of course, come in, Pushkin."
Yeah, he'd get in.
Yeah, and inside you'd see quite a lot has been done to make this area look as plush as possible, but it is a tent at the end of the day, and the Lord is snoring away to one side on a double bed essentially.
Yeah.
I mean, kind of looks at you and gives you a slight sort of exasperated little sigh. It's like, "The Lord is having his beauty sleep."
Pushkin's gonna get out the bell that he's got.
Mm-hmm.
Just ring it.
The Lord snuffles like, "No, I'll see. It's just, I look ridiculous." Oh. And he startles awake and sees you and it's like, "Oh, excuse me, Pushkin, I was having a lovely dream. How can I help you this fine morning in New Quivershank?"
My lord, we're going on the first expedition to hunt for food and water, that kind of thing. I wondered if you'd care to join us to survey your new domain.
Well, he sort of looks around the room. Permian's giving him like a little nod. It's like, "Well, yes, I suppose I should, really. Perhaps we can find something new and name it ourselves. Be exciting."
We're heading into a jungle and some of the Marines are coming, so...
Oh, very good. I'll put my jungle gear on. Give me just a moment, and you'll come, of course, as well, Zython. It's kind of cools as he's leaning into his wardrobe.
Please tell me he's going to come out in khakis and a pith helmet.
thespian version of that for sure. And Zython just gives a little bow and a nod towards the Lord, very taciturn, doesn't say anything. And yeah, the Lord emerges a few moments later, looking completely unfit for the jungle, but very fashionable, in various camouflage gear. Long sleeves, ready to catch on everything. High boots, they look like they're suede, ready to get completely ruined as they go traipsing into the mud and water. But he seems quite proud of himself, and he has a little bit more of of hope about him than his previous dreary self. It's like, right, I'm ready. Should I take any hunting things, do you think? And he kind of proudly opens a big chest at the back of the tent, and you see all manner of firearms and crossbows, finely carved, racks of ammunition and such in the top of the lid.
Whatever you think your best skill is, my lord, I'm sure we could do some hunting if we find anything.
Well, of course! And he just throws like a rifle towards you, Pushkin.
Yeah, Pushkin's like, let's do this. No. Yeah.
He throws one towards Zython as well.
Pushkin take a rifle, hell yeah.
He gives you each like a little ammo belt as well. It's like, right, let's go hunt some serrated lizards or bears or whatever's out there.
I'm sure there'll be quiver bears and quiver lizards.
Oh, very, very good. Right, see you later, Permy. Don't wait up. And he goes striding out the front of the tent, and Permian's just like, yes, my lord. He goes back to his little desk, makeshift desk. And yeah, you gather your people around you. The goblins look very ready to go. You see they all are signing to each other. They seem to have this like little goblin symbols and sign languages that they keep using, and they're already got that kind of large eyes scanning the ground look about them. The marine complement turns up. They look well armed and ready.
With the goblins, sorry.
No, go ahead.
With the goblins, because I've got one of the goblins, Zach.
Mm-hmm.
I assume he would have wanted to go as well. She would have just let him. It was fine.
Yeah. If you let him, let her, then she would. Yeah, they work. It's really clear the culture of the goblinoids. They work incredibly well as a family unit. They all have their different roles and they work together and support each other. So Pushkin, are you heading straight for the tree line you see in the distance? What's the plan? Or are you giving that over to a member of your party?
They basically have the main group stick together, so all the like herbalists, the marines, and the other person who's here.
Mm-hmm.
But then he'd let the goblins fan out and basically be like, if you find anything interesting, come get us.
Okay.
But it'd be like having a bunch of flies going around a big cow, and he's the big cow.
I love it. The little outriders. So just heading generally west?
Yeah, like up here, I guess.
Yeah. Cool. You head forward. The goblins with their sharp eyes are going to spot everything that's going on. So they would spot in this area. Let's see. What have we got? We've got... The goblins come back to you with quite... some of them look excited, some of them look a little troubled. And they report to you that they found what looks to be old foundations of buildings, stonework, just shallowly below the grasses and soils, with tiny little areas where it's sticking out. They don't seem to have any advice with this. Their job is to hunt for animals, creatures, but they just tell you that that's what they found. There seems to be multiple areas around here where there are what looks to be the remains of, or the foundations of old buildings, long rooms.
So they could rebuild on the old foundations, right?
Potentially, yeah.
Interesting. Pushkin will keep that in mind.
Okay, very good. Alright, let's do this. Actually, god damn it. Sorry. Seeing all the things. You would see this. Why is it not working? Oh. The area kind of opens up around you. And Salia, because this is going to be happening throughout the day, so you two are kind of exploring simultaneously. Would you head for the tree line as well? What's your idea? You got this distant tree line to the west. To the south, it's more open grassland. Yeah, you would have seen remnants of Pushkin's group heading off the north west.
How many people did you say wanted to come? 20?
With you, yes. Yeah. You got a big group, yeah.
Are they competent people?
For the most part, yeah. You've got your scouting elements, the the bugbears, their family. You've got. Did you ask Toria for a marine compliment?
Oh, no? yeah. Anyway, yeah. Toria.
The leader of the Marines.
She would have asked her to see if anyone wanted to come in the Marines.
Yeah, there would be a couple of Marines, some of the gunners. Yeah. People are interested. When you talk about scouting, there's quite a lot of interest, especially with how much you've been sort of mingling and talking to people. So yeah, for the most part, competent. Yeah.
Cool. Should probably split into two then, with us a lot of people. So 10 plus per group, I guess. Probably try and split up the sort of skills evenly as well. Who
would you want leading the other group? Anyone in particular?
I think she would think Icky was quite competent, so she'd probably think Icky maybe. She's going to keep the Burgomaster with her because she thinks he's useless, but might be useful for a bit of magic.
Very good.
Maybe Zython goes in the other group as well.
It wasn't Zython in my group.
Sorry, yes, Zython's gone with Pushkin.
Should probably send Krez, the ex-Sari, if she's coming to the other group.
To the other group. Got it.
Yeah. So Sari in each group, and Icky in that other group as well. And they just split up generally, otherwise.
Cool. Put these just out, just a bit of a reminder. Cool. And is she directing the other group to go a particular direction?
She'll just say, we're going this way. You guys decide which way is best for you in your sortie.
And would she say about Pushkin going off to the northwest?
Yeah, she should mention. I saw Pushkin going up that north way, so
yeah,
perhaps south.
Yeah, they'll start heading south. Cool. So you guys are going down this way? Yeah. Very cool. Yep. So as you head there, hopefully you hear back from the other scouting party later. So you...
Oh, sorry, one thing as well. Before they went, she would also get information from the herbalist about what to look out for, in case we want to bring it back for medicines or anything.
Yeah. You wouldn't want the herbalist coming with you?
Bit dangerous. She's our only herbalist.
Okay.
Oh, I've got one.
Yeah, she gives you some advice on... she's smart. She gives you some advice about... a lot of the flora here will probably be unfamiliar, but here are some things you can look out for in plants in general that might be edible or medicinal in some aspect. So
maybe like Yeah, maybe like a half-hour lesson to everyone before we go.
Oh, very good. Yeah, she takes quite a lot of pride in doing that for sure. Yeah, as you move into this space, more grassland, but the trees are growing closer and closer. Can I have both the Burgomaster and Salia do a perception check for me, please? Come on, Burgomaster, prove your worth. Hey!
Oh. Hold on, it's loading.
Excuse me. So, oh wow, yeah, both of you, Salia first, but Burgomaster as well. You independently managed to spot these. You don't notice the stonework immediately. What you notice is there's like these areas in the grass that seem to be raised slightly, and they describe sort of vague rectangle or square shapes. And you quickly realize that this seems to be stonework foundations of old ruined buildings in the area you're in. It's quite extensive, and from where the Burgomaster has seen it and from where you've seen it, it kind of almost describes a line running north and south, like a collection of buildings going north and south, long since ruined and grown over by the grass. But you see that where you are.
Interesting.
Brothel was the brothel.
How does the Burgomaster react? Dumbfounded? Great facial expression. Okay, right. So that's one movement apiece. Pushkin? Northwest? Southwest? Straight north? Where are we going?
Somewhere here.
Yeah, let's move yourself up. With your hunting sortie alongside you.
I imagine he's got Chuck just like pouring over the ground as the main group slowly moves.
Oh, hell yeah.
And then, I don't know, maybe having the one farmer guy look out for anything that could be plantable. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. 2, 4. So, as you move into this area, what do you notice? Oh, okay. As you move into this area, the trees aren't that thick at this point. You're quite close to the coast, and there are large clearings, but with these incredibly vibrant and verdant trees full of life, covered in different lichens and mosses and vines crawling all around them. And you spot small animals scurrying off, and you see the goblins forming impromptu hunting parties with their groups to scare these small creatures into an exposed area before they pounce. And the little sacks and bags they've brought with them begin to fill with small furred creatures, lizards as well, snakes, large insects, plump grubs, things like that, along with a variety of herbs and fruit. But, and it would probably be Zython, actually, who spotted it first. You notice Zython walking slightly up ahead of you, stop like a statue, and then slowly crouch down and kind of hold up a hand to signal for the rest of you to come up to where he's standing. And he points out, and away from you, next to a small stream running between some trees and the grass, you see a number of large apes lounging on the grass, seemingly sunbathing, just enjoying the warm sun on their skin. They are hairless. They're these large, clearly ape in proportion, broad shoulders and backs, very heavily muscular, but otherwise hairless. And in fact, let's have Pushkin, could you do a perception check for me, please?
Oh my god, they're going to look like Icky Telltale.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Perception. Take the first one. 13 is enough. You notice even from the distance that you're at, because these things are hairless, it's quite easy to see detail on their skin. And you notice these long, kind of fleshy furrows in their skin, kind of where their rib cage should be, and along their neck as well. And Zython sees this as well and kind of points it out to you and says that these seem to be gills. These apes seem to have gills on the sides of their neck and their bodies.
Holy shit.
Yeah. You notice as well that Lord Ernst is getting into a position and raising a rifle, all ready to hunt.
Fishkin was like, my lord, we don't know if they're intelligent or not.
The Lord kind of lowers his thing slightly. He's like, oh, right, yes, you're correct, of course. It would be an awful. We shouldn't start New Quivershank's great legacy with an awful killing of a intelligent species. Perhaps we should try and interact with these creatures.
Yes, maybe you and Zython should go down there and see. Well, maybe have the ticks prepared to ambush if anything goes wrong.
Very good, very good. And the Marines sort of hear this as well and take up positions to get involved if necessary. So who's heading out towards the apes?
I think it'd probably be these three plus a Marine who just looks tough, and then the other. So the non-combatants hanging back, and then the ticks and the rest of the Marines sort of like hidden.
Very cool. Clear and simple. It would definitely be the dwarf that looks the surliest Marine that comes up along with you. Oh, how do you approach?
Gonna try. Maybe we should go with our hands clearly on show so they don't think we're holding anything dangerous. So he puts his hands up like this. Oh, like, like hands up.
Yeah.
Not in the air, but so they can see the palms of
Yeah.
their hands.
Up in front,
Yeah.
Lord Ernst swings his oversized rifle onto his back, tips his decorative hat back, and holds his hands up as well in a kind of jaunty angle. Big smile on his face. Zython does the same, if a little reluctantly. The Marine grunts and puts their own rifle down to the side, but does the same, clanking a little in their armor. Are you just heading towards the apes?
Yeah. Hell yeah.
As you break cover from the tree line, the group of apes, looks to maybe be 6 or 7 of them in total, look up and look over and just start to watch you. As they turn towards you, you see their faces aren't too dissimilar from other ape species you've seen in some of the more exotic exhibitions in Hespia or perhaps on your own travels. But where the Hespian and similar apes have the normal humanoid features, these apes don't have a nose, and their mouth seems to be quite a thin, tight mouth, almost like a little gap beneath where their nose should be. And otherwise, their faces are quite featureless, and they have these, or blank rather, and they have these large, watery-looking eyes with which they regard you as you move closer. They don't seem to be threatened or threatening, just watching you come closer. But they're not talking.
Does Pushkin know what languages Zython speaks?
Yeah, he would know that Zython speaks Triton.
Pushkin would be like, I'm not trying to say anything by saying a bit Zython, but maybe you should try Triton. They have gills, I don't know.
Shoot you an evil look.
It's the only language I know in the water.
and then speaks up towards the apes. In a language you don't understand, quite guttural. As he speaks up, Lord Ernst has got like these big dinner plate eyes and is just watching, fascinated. The apes respond immediately as Zython calls out, but you can hear straight away they're not talking the same language as Zython. They just make these big stuttering bellows, like the sound of a big bag of air being squeezed out too quickly with sudden movements, like loud wheezes coming back towards you. Each of the apes making their own this cacophony of different pitches and volumes as you're kind of belted with these sounds. Many of the apes get up from their reclined position on the grass, no longer just looking at you, but now facing you and coming forward with that typical ape walking on their knuckles, moving towards you and kind of fanning out a little bit. How do you respond?
Is it threatening?
It could be interpreted as threatening. Their poise isn't overly aggressive, but difficult to tell. They're making a lot of sound. Zython continues trying to talk, but is clearly frustrated and frowning, and sort of interjects in between him trying to talk to the apes, just saying that this isn't working.
Fishkin gonna get his alchemy jug out.
Yeah?
Yeah. And he's gonna... I assume he's got a little bucket with him.
Sure, yeah.
He's gonna empty 4 gallons of beer into the bucket and like gesture for the apes to look at the bucket.
Textbook colonialism. I love it. As the jug comes out, the apes are intrigued, and these large watery eyes all hone in on the magical item, and you pour, and they look fascinated and transfixed by this seemingly never-ending liquid coming forth and filling up this bucket. Where is the bucket in relation to Pushkin? Do you kick it out in front, or is it right next to you?
He would have filled it up, and they would have backed off like 5 meters back, 10 meters back.
Oh yeah. As you back off, the body language seems clear, and the apes come shuffling and shambling forward to examine. Some of them bend down, touch the bucket with their fingers, which you can now see are webbed between their fingers. Push some of the liquid around. One of them uses the webbing on their fingers to form like a little rudimentary cup and scoop some of the beer out and sip it before like spitting and spurting the liquid out onto the grass, looking quite agitated, and the others hoot and wheeze these sounds before eventually coming back and drinking some more of the liquid offered to them.
Pushkin would have kept a little, and he'd drink it as well to show that it's not poisonous.
Okay, yeah. Each of the ape figures takes turns drinking, and you notice there is a notable lack of dominance of any one member of the group. There doesn't seem to be any kind of hierarchy. The group interact with each other, making these sounds, and also there seems to be a routine or a rhythm to how they slap each other on the back with these webbed hands, making these loud slapping sounds to accompany the wheezing and the loud sounds that they make with their little mouth. Anya said, "Is it a stag party?" They take turns drinking, and before long the bucket is drained, and some of the effects of the quick imbibing of beer is beginning to show amongst the apes as their movement becomes a little more liquid as they kind of tumble over each other and hoot and wheeze in seemingly a positive manner. Lord Ernst just like, "You're a natural, Pushkin, a man of creatures great and small."
Why, thank you, my lord.
you think we should bring them back to New Quivershank?
I think we should let them go about their business and try and find them another day. I can give them more beer, and we can slowly build up a rapport.
Okay.
But maybe you should name them, my lord.
Oh, I will call them. Oh. He kind of looks at the gills. And he looks at the beer. I will name them. Gilly Beer Boys. Is that a good name?
I like it.
And you see one of the people that's come with you kind of takes a little mental note of that. You've got the zoologist with you, right?
Yeah, I assume he's been making a record with it.
Yeah, he is frantically sketching and scribbling. Here's Gilly Beer Boys, kind of goes, but writes it down anyway.
Yeah. Pushkin's like, write it down, Darren.
Yes, of course. They're fascinating. And Lord Ernst makes a point of walking forward a little bit, and the apes seem quite amused. And he loudly talks at them, just says, pats his chest and goes, Lord Ernst Quivershank, a pleasure, Gilly Beer Boys. We will return with more beer. And the apes just kind of hoot back at him and are very playful now in their inebriated state. Some of them you can see are just lying down in the sun, clearly with the grass around them spinning in their eyes. But yeah, you gather the party and make them move along.
It's gonna be like spreading civilization the correct way.
One of the goblins, as you start to move along, would kind of tug on your sleeve, Pushkin, and just look up at you and say, just so you're aware, there are quite a lot of meat on those creatures.
I agree, but if they seemed rather intelligent, it wouldn't be right. At least before we know more about them.
Alright, just good to know where we stand. And you see the goblin immediately make a series of hand signals to the other goblins in the group, who kind of visibly relax from a potential combat posture. You move on. Okay, over to Salia and the Burgomaster. Which direction next?
This one.
Okay. Head down this way. Pushing now into the jungle tree line. The hot, humid air around you. Quite a stark difference to the clean, warm air of the grassland.
If these trees are tall enough,
Mm-hmm.
Salia will climb to get a better look, and also have the scout climb as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Very nice. Yeah, the scout climbs up, looks like they've been practically lit off a leash when they do so. They're just overjoyed to climb up and get a good look. And you can do the same with your abilities. And around you can see, in fact, with that good idea, I'll open up the darkness a bit more. You see areas to the south, grassland. It seems like the tree line largely forms this rough line, north-south line. You see further into the woods. By woods, I mean jungle. See off to the north as well. Where you are, you see evidence of, you see a lot of lovely plump red fruit. And you also see, with the number of people you have spread out, people would bring back to you like discarded fruit skins and cores. Clearly someone has eaten deeply of this fruit as they've and done so recently.
Someone's been around here.
Can the
Just-
Burgomaster, sorry.
Tries a bit more peeled. Go for it.
Can I do some sort of check to see if there are any dead bodies around anywhere?
Yeah. Go ahead and make a perception or investigation check.
Much of a muchness.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck it. No, he's not even eating it.
You look around, Salis, and
I haven't eaten for at least half an hour, Salia.
Well, you gotta wait a little bit longer, Burgermaster. Nothing out here. Don't eat the berries.
Why do I
Yellow
feel like
on
you could have been like, you can call me Bergie. I need my food. Boy, stop it, Tom.
I'm not calling you Bergie, Burgermaster.
Well then,
Come on.
call me Salis or Sally, as my mother calls me.
She just kind of like points to the group. She's just like, everyone here's keeping their eyes out. You got to stop thinking of your belly.
But how am I to maintain my toned, muscular physique without any sustenance?
I mean, she just kind of walks away. She's just like,
I think that's
yeah,
fair. That's what I would do too.
So you tell the people in the group not to eat the fruit?
Not to eat weird fruit. Yeah, no. Don't eat
Okay.
weird fruit.
Completely fair. Yeah, there's this fruit around you, these proper fruits hanging on trees. Aryan says to you what you can see on the map. The jungle moves away to the south. It does seem to start clearing off to the west eventually.
Mhm.
Open it up a little bit more into more grassland. And whereas it seems to get more dense, and there seems to be like a layer of fog and mist off to the southwest. Although I would say as well, no, yeah, it's too far. But yeah, that's what you see.
Okay.
We
Are
can
we
do
picking
your.
another hex? Or...
Well, you have a decision to make because you normally travel 3 hexes in a normal day's travel. So now would be the time to turn back if you wanted to turn back. Otherwise, you'll probably be camping out, which is entirely doable.
Yeah, I guess it depends if we brought stuff to camp out with.
Yeah, well, you have scouts with you. They certainly would have said to you, it's important we take stuff in case we end up stranded or what have you. You've got all these survival backpacks that were packed before the trip.
Yeah. I guess we'll see if we can get closer to the open area first. So we can go 1 hex, can't we?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
It's up to everyone. If we want to turn back, it just means we need to scout more in the morning. I think it's worth camping out. We've not seen much just yet.
I think the people would be enthusiastic to keep going. This is like a proper adventure. This
Yeah.
is what many of them got on the ship for, this idea of new world.
Alright. I think from this point we need to start thinking about marking our way back. We're a bit far out.
Yeah,
So yeah, just mark the trees and stuff like that.
yeah. Aryan would instruct people to systematically mark the trees with a clear arrow symbol pointing back towards where you've come from.
And
Cool.
yeah, I guess we'll go forward then.
Forward up, forward down.
Forward. This is more dense down here, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And this is slightly less dense.
Mm-hmm.
I think we try dense.
Dense. You push further into the dense area of the forest, of the jungle.
Mhm.
And do you see? Okay. Could I have Salis and Salia, do a perception check for me, please.
Also, if there's any recognisable fruit, should say you can take that. It's just
Yeah,
it's weird.
well, there is some that looks very similar to fruits you've had in Hespia or imported from Sedistray or Glamorand. People are a little bit wary, but there's also people that are quite daring and, chomp down on some fruit and proclaim its tastiness and its superiority or inferiority to the more familiar variety they had from home. But yeah, people begin to gather and kind of catalogue and get a sense of what's good and what's not. Holy shit, your perception checks. Okay. As you move into this more dense area, both of you, almost simultaneously, one to the left, one looking off to the right, you both notice that your group has been followed, and you're being trailed, keeping pace with you in the tree line, maybe 200 feet further back into the tree line on each side. There are people moving through. Salis, with your natural 20, you notice that there are people moving along your side, but also behind, like you're being surrounded. And Salia, with your 23, not quite the nat 20, but very good score, you managed to pick out with your keen eyesight and kind of a flash of almost supernatural perception. You notice that these figures moving in the dense jungle with sunlight dappling through onto their skin, you notice recognizable sari tattoos on the skin of these figures that are trailing on off to the side. How do either of you react?
Defensively, she'd look where the rest of her party is in relation to whether they've seen it, what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. You with how well you both have rolled individually, you are both the first to notice these creatures. The rest of your party seems unaware.
Yeah, she would whisper, like a loudish whisper, but not like shouting. Just like, everyone bunch up, sort of thing.
Okay.
And sort of defensive, fisty mode.
Yeah, everyone draws in close, people reach for weapons and start to look around, pick things out. Again, with how well you two are being sharp-eyed right now, you notice that with you notably pulling together, the figures back off slightly and fade back into the distant jungle.
Mm-hmm. Should whisper again. Looks like they've backed off for now. But we're being followed. And I don't like being followed.
Yeah.
She won't mention the tattoos.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. We will jump back across to Pushkin. Where are we going for your final step of travel this day? Are you heading back? Are you heading further out?
How well have they done with food?
You've done pretty well. You think you just gathered by your group to feed the entire population of proto new Quivershank. You think probably some people, well, everyone would end up a little bit hungry, but you could probably get by. You don't think people will be able to survive on this level of diet for multiple days. And you also think, and certainly the goblins would reinforce this, that should you come back this way, the picking's going to be really slim. You kind of scoured a lot of the area. But yeah, you have a sizable amount of food.
Okay. Well, he doesn't want to push it too much the first night.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they're going to head back.
Okay. Lord Ernst looks a little bit crestfallen. He hasn't gotten to hunt something properly. But he is still excited by and keeps chattering on about the Gilly Beer boys. As you make your way back towards the Quiver Sail. and with a little bit of extra pushing on and walking a trail you've already walked, you are able to make it back unaffected. Very nice. People are really happy to see you and grateful and excited. Lord Ernst looks much more his previous self, arms wide, proclaiming to the gathered masses about this incredible new discovery, and you notice him immediately embellishing heavily the characteristics of the Gillybeer boys.
Yeah. I think the only thing he did in the evening is trying to, like, convince the farmers, like, we have all these sacks of grain, where the hell should we put it?
The farmers would look a bit sheepish and say to you that none of the areas they've seen so far look like good farming land. Yeah, unless you cleared, because in some of the more jungle-dense areas you've been to, the soil's a bit thicker. If you cleared the trees from there, maybe it could work.
That's probably what those people who with the foundations did.
You're not sure, but perhaps the foundations are like right next to the tree line, so it's definitely possible. Yeah.
Just a little quick suggestion: could he have had some of maybe the kids that stayed in with their mums and dads or whatever, the ones that stayed behind in the camp, do some fishing?
Isn't it like miles away from the sea, though?
Well, the sea's right there. Just go fishing.
Yeah, people could travel and back in a day. They'd have to walk there and come back. People are doing things. They're not, true video game NPCs standing still while you guys are away. So yeah, some people would be fishing. A lot of kids would be playing in the water. People would be starting to, like, move their tents around, get a better spot, get a sense of things. Some people would be cleaning their clothes in the seawater, which isn't the best idea, or fresh water available to you. But with people heading out in such a dedicated manner and the Lord going with them, quite a few people seem to have this attitude of, well, they're going out to sort everything, so we'll just wait for them to come back and they'll have whatever we need. So yeah, the group comes back, Pushkin's group comes back to a bit of a hero's reception. But to Burgomaster and Salia, what are you doing in your position where you are? Do you want to make camp there?
Burgomaster is lazy.
Burgomaster is lazy and wants to make camp right there?
Okay. Can she scout out a more defensible position where they are?
Yeah.
In a bush.
Roll, with Arjan helping you, roll a survival check with advantage.
Oh.
13's not terrible. Arjan encourages you, from their own experience and knowledge, to try and get people up into the trees and find connections where different trees have sort of wound around each other to form almost like basket-like areas that he says you can pad with some of these large thick leaves present so frequently in the jungle to make a makeshift defense. And as long as you're smart about everyone knows which direction you all are going, if you escape you don't just scatter into the jungle, he thinks this would be a pretty defensible position.
Yeah, let's do that. Salia can climb pretty well. I know she's got a climber with her as well, scout.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we can do that.
Yeah.
She'd have to lift the Burgomaster, I'm sure. Pull him up by the fucking...
I'm sure the Burgomaster would enjoy that. Yeah, but with the people you've brought, you make a good job of bringing people up into the trees. Everyone's very wary, and the sense you get from the figures that have surrounded you is that they are keeping a constant watch, but they are not all closing in like a wall of people. It's more like you see sentries being posted and keeping an eye on you all the time. And now that they've seen that you've reacted to them, they're not making any effort to conceal themselves. You'd literally just see like 150 feet away from you, a safe distance, someone. I will say they swap round. Sometimes human, sometimes orcish, sometimes other humanoid races, but all very scantily clad, and all bearing clear evidence of Sari tattoos.
Interesting. She would just point them out, I guess, and have at least 3 people on watch at a time.
Mhm.
There's so many of them.
Yep, Aryan helps organize that as well, and seems very knowledgeable about how to stay safe and alert in a thickly, a dense canopy of trees,
Yep.
and is incredibly useful in this situation.
Yes.
Okay. The day draws to a close. Your first day on the Serrated Isles. Is there anything anyone would do as night comes about that hasn't been mentioned already?
Pushkin would say maybe they should do an exploration deeper into this part of the jungle tomorrow.
The Lord would wholeheartedly agree and seems very excited and like he is throwing himself headfirst in and reimagining himself as the great explorer Ernst Quivershank, and talks about what they might find and how they've already come away with the Gillybeer boys and how exciting it all is, and requesting that the zoologist does lots of sketches and he's going to hang them up in his tent, and you know, it's like an excited 12-year-old telling you about their day over and over again.
One thing he would also want is if there's anyone good at fishing, try and do a little fishing party. Like Hannah said.
Yeah, and with that actual like call out, you get a number of people. Many of the sailors are experienced fishermen from just being on the ship and using it as a pastime. Others, there aren't a huge number, and depending on how insightful you think Pushkin is, you'd notice it's a pretty big gap in the planning by Lord Ernst in terms of who he brought along on the trip when you're going to an island.
Yeah.
He didn't bring any real dedicated fisher people.
Isn't
despite,
that because they don't eat fish? Or is that something I completely made up?
it's something you completely made up. Fish is a major food. I think what you're remembering is last session. You had the school of sturgeon and talked about how it's kind of a sacred thing for some of the Kiad Shore. But no, the fishing trade is a very thriving element on the Hunter's Coast, which is where you guys are from. And it's actually harder to pick people out who aren't fishermen than it is to pick people who are. But the Lord's done a pretty good job of it. So yeah. But you think there's a decent amount of amateur skills and some more adept people. There's probably a party of like 8 or so people who are happy to go fishing the next day. In general, the excitement from the day easily outweighs the potential worries people have looking down at a fairly scant dinner, and you think you can stretch the found foodstuffs to tomorrow as well as today. I don't mind who, Hannah or Anya, but I need a D20 from one of you, please. A single D20.
Come on, Anya.
Okay.
She's doing it.
No!
Okay. People rotate their watches. They're looking out. There's this kind of cold standoff. The sentries staring at each other across the way, and you quickly find that many of these jungle Sari, or seemingly Sari, sentries like to toy with you all. They are very familiar with where they are, and they are very good at blending in and out of the tree line, and so your sentries spend a lot of time being quite agitated and frustrated, trying to keep an eye on a figure that can seemingly blend in and out of the jungle itself. But the night passes. You are not assailed. You are not attacked. The morning comes around. High fire rises high in the sky. You are now on day 7 of the expedition.
Okay.
What is your scouting group doing about food, Salia?
I guess we just look for anything familiar or any animals nearby. We're in trees, right?
Mm-hmm. Go ahead and both of you separately do a survival check with advantage, please.
Grab a bird.
Snatch a bird for breakfast. 17 and 23, yeah, okay. You managed to forage a decent amount of food. There doesn't seem to be too much awful
Insects.
here. Yep.
Do a Lion King.
Yep, a lot of it is pretty unpleasant, and also many people are starting to come up with rashes from unfamiliar plants, things that are poisonous that they didn't realize, thorns and other things, exotic looking jungle plants which turn out to be venomous. Venomous, I always get that wrong. Thank you. No, nothing awful yet, but people are starting to get a bit of wear and tear from traveling through the jungle. But you've picked a pretty hardy lot to take with you. A very important role. I don't mind who, I just need a straight D20. This is for the weather.
I'll do it. This one. Rolling.
Understood.
Oh god! Okay. 15 or higher, we move from settled weather to unsettled weather.
Oh.
Which means I need a second D20 from you, please, to see what manner this weather takes. What is it? A 12. Unsettled weather. Okay. So you are woken to rain coming down around you.
Oh.
The sound of rain hitting jungle leaves above you, and your clothes begin to become soggy and damp and clinging to your body.
Can we use
there
the
is
big leaves as an umbrella?
You can try and improvise, yeah, and sort of go from tree to tree. It's not storming, but it is consistent, fairly heavy rain, and thick clouds above as well, meaning visibility isn't quite as high as it has been before. Heavy rain and cloudy. Second day. What's your plan? Heading back or heading further in?
She would probably, because everyone else has got wear and tear and it's pissing down, she'd probably ask the group what they want to do.
Okay. From the group itself, there's a mixed bag. Some people are keen to push in, they're excited, things they've seen and heard and, tasted already excites them. Others are worried, they're quite scared, they're separated from the main group that they've been spending time on the ship on. So there's very much a split thing. Arjan would recommend that you head back.
Yeah. So I'm thinking. Fresh group of eyes.
Mm-hmm. Salis? Anya said whatever's least sensible. Salis wants to push further in then?
Yeah.
Yes, she says.
Alright, I think we're going back.
Cool.
She will look up in the tree, the furthest tree possible, just to get a good overlay of sort of what she can see around this area here.
Okay.
Before
Yeah.
we go.
Arjan would join you as well. Get that ring going.
The Burgomaster will literally just be like, well, I'm going to go further in, and you're welcome to join me if you like.
Amazing.
All I can
Incredible.
say is good luck, Burgomaster. You know, if you get any good information, make sure you bring it back.
I'd like to point out he would be like a toddler when they're like, I'm running away, mummy, and they get to like the end of the road and then they're like, oh, fuck this. And he gets,
Yeah.
like, get about 3 steps in, his hat would get wet and he'd be like, nah.
Got it.
And then he'd just come back all full of bluster and be like, well, there was nothing really, anything to be seen any further in.
Yeah, Salia, do a perception check with advantage as you climb up with Aryan helping you as well. Okay, there's a few things. First off, I'll reveal some more of the map. You notice that the jungle gives way to a very obvious opening. It looks almost purposeful, like the jungle itself has been cut back. As it opens up to an area with these large lakes, water of very still-looking water. And in fact, with the opening being what it is, you would see off to the south, there seems to be an element of a ruined tower standing between these 4 lakes, clear around it. With a 20, it's too distant to pick out details. But I will say that immediately to your south, as this kind of draws your attention, you would see... Make sure I get this right. You would notice to your immediate south, in the next sort of 5 to 10 miles, you see amongst the treetops, there are elements of built tree houses. They're well disguised and blend in nicely, almost symbiotically with the trees that they are in, but with your sharp eyes and with Aryan's help, you see that there are a number of different tree houses between you and this opening with the lakes in it. To your west, you would see... where is it? And make sure I get this right. To your west, you would see an element of, so to your northwest, you'd see an element of the forest that, anytime you see a break in the canopy, you notice these very large, and they shimmer as they catch the weak sunlight, elements of webs, what look like very large webs, bigger than any spider webs you've seen before, or could have possibly been made by spiders you've seen before. And then slightly further west, you have an opening of the grasslands, and you would see, because you've gotten yourself quite a nice vantage point here, you would see what looks to be a large herd of recognizable creatures, tumblers. These large herbivores that roam the plains in Hespia and are often hunted for their meat. That seem to be grazing on the grasslands as you look out that way. And then southwest, give you this last little bit of information, so that's a good roll. Got southwest here, you notice the area looks unnaturally shrouded with mist. Mist seems to rise up from beneath the canopy and enshroud it like it's being constantly replenished before it bleeds off and disappears in this area around it. Very, very notable, this kind of couple of miles across area in the jungle where there's this thick mist shrouding the area. But yeah, that's what you managed to see.
Yeah, got some really good information. Let's go back with it.
Very cool. Yeah, and following your own way back, you are able to navigate by the end of the day coming back. Pushkin might not be there because these guys are going to be doing their own thing this day. But we are coming towards the end of the session. We're finishing at 10:30 today. Got to keep my beauty sleep. And I wanted, before we finished, to go back to a Miss Eleanor Grassfoot.
Okay.
Eleanor, get rid of this sound because you can't hear the rain. You're inside. Can't hear the jungle either. Let's give you an appropriate song. You awake on the floor of a cave. Damp, dark stone pressed against your face as your head rests on the ground. As your eyes blink blearily open, you notice that you are hale and hearty. You are whole. You are alive. Your last memories before of this venom of the spider taking over, you don't remember anything between then and now. But you're clearly somewhere very different. You feel a depth to the place that you are. It feels like you are deep underground. And yet there is a light source. A flickering, pale purple light illuminates the small cavern that you are in. And you get that sense on the back of your neck of someone else being in the room that you're in. You hear the sound of shuffling footsteps behind you and someone going busily about some kind of preparations. Sound of metal and glass, wood knocking against each other, perhaps moving small vessels. You have everything. The sword lies by your side as if having slept side by side in a bed, ready to be taken up once more. What do you do?
Can she kind of stealthily try to see what the source of the noise is?
Yeah. Roll a stealth check for me, please.
Seven.
Your body is still weak and exhausted. As you try and shift, your body scrapes against some gravel on the ground. Perhaps your arm slips and knocks the sword, causing a clattering sound as the sharp metal scrapes against stone. But you still move, and you see a very large, hunched figure back towards you, pouring over what seems to be a huge metal pot, a vessel, a cauldron on the ground. Sat on top of what seems to be this strange, reflective, almost crystalline stone that seems to form a platform that the cauldron stands upon. As you shift and you tense as you hear the sound of the clattering sword behind you, the figure itself tenses as well. And as it tenses, it seems to gain impossibly in height, half a meter, as the shoulders pull together and bunch up, and it rises up and blocks the purple light from the other side of the room. Slowly turns. You see tumbling black, thick hair like bramble and vines down its back shift as the figure turns to face you. You see a distinctly masculine form. Thick beard, much like the hair tangled up, and if your eyes don't deceive you, run through with all manner of strange, exotic, vicious-looking plants, thorns protruding from the beard itself, long leaves that almost drip with toxins at the end of them. Tiny, impossibly small pinpricks of baleful light green light illuminate deep eye sockets in the face over a gnarled, long, hooked nose and sallow cheeks as the figure looks down towards you.
Do I recognise the figure at all or not?
Visually, you do not recognize the figure, and yet there is a feeling of painful familiarity. The figure that you have formed a bond with before is not this figure that stands before you, and yet there is something in your mind that tells you that you are speaking, or if you were to speak, you would be speaking to that very same soul that you made such an important deal with before. Do you say anything? Figure simply stares down at you.
Yeah, she steps forwards and looks up at the being. And she just says, "It wasn't supposed to be like this. I've come to bargain."
There is a sound of stretching vines and cracking wood as a long, curved smile breaks across this huge face in front of you as the figure looms up above. And that's where we'll end today's session.